media project.
This week only, come out and see the comedy styling of Greg McGuggett, a comedian called the funniest guy to perform stand-up at an all-you-can-eat buffet.
So I went home, my girlfriend and me, and we had sex. Then we woke up the next morning, my girlfriend and me, and we had sex. Then we went to pick up our dry cleaning, my girlfriend and me, and we had sex. Anyone ever tried any airplane food before? While having sex? Anyone? While having sex? Sex? Sex?
Can I get a refill on my Mr. Pibbs?
I'll be right with you, sir.
See him as part of Comedy Spotlight Series at the Ground Round on Route 9, Tuesdays and Thursdays during our lunch hour.
We need you to bust table 5, McGuggett.
Sure thing, Frank. You've been a great audience. Thank you.
Excuse me, do you mind if I join you? Are you sure you don't mind? You're absolutely sure I'm disturbing you?
Well, I was doing night watch out at the kids' club. Elizabeth Dan, that's my partner, agreed to meet me at the lightning bolt. I nodded.
So should we keep it top secret?
Hello and welcome to the Mental Suppository. I'm Bret Herholtz,
I'm Jamie Billings.
I'm Andrew Shanley.
I'm Wayne Nevis.
and we got a great show planned for you
We do?
right after a word from our sponsor.
Fuck.
Here we go again.
VH1 Behind the Music returns with The Rise and Fall of MeatHammer, the most famous metal act to come out of Peru, Massachusetts.
It used to be about the music. Then it wasn't. Then it was all about the music again. Then it wasn't. Then it was about the music again and then quickly wasn't. I wish those guys would make up their minds. It's very confusing, man.
Gordon, Bert, Walter, and Ernest. 4 guys working at a Dairy Queen who all liked the song Inside the Electric Circus by Wasp and decided they wanted to start a band.
What makes me different is I play a sideways bass. We're a metal band, not some fancy cocktail jazz band.
Dude, I love cocktails.
Who's got shrimp cocktails?
Their big break would come when they played Venue Palooza at the Peru Community Center. That's where they'd meet Chad Mendelchad, a man who had got a Tascam Porta Studio 414 the Christmas prior, which at the time was the pinnacle of studio cassette recording.
I'd produced bands like the Funky Toe Jam and Debbie Desperate and the Yule Doos, so I know talent when I see it. And these guys had it. And they had a car so they could pick me up.
I was a rock star. And the car my brother sold me was a sweet ride. You're not anyone unless you own a Stang, man.
You mean your old Mustang Fox body in primer gray?
Nobody calls it a Stang.
That's like calling anything made after 1981 a Camaro Man.
With songs such as Thwap, Rocket of Love, She Unzipped My Heart, and Grease Tunnel, made the group public access radio hits. Their sold-out shows at the Wacona Regional High School Gymnasium began to give them notoriety in Windsor and Cunningham, Mass. Their popularity stretched out as far as Spencer, Massachusetts, where they performed to a sold-out crowd at a venue called The Attic.
All right! Hello, Spencer, Mass! Can everyone hear us?
Gordon played the longest and to my knowledge the only triangle solo in metal history. It was pretty epic.
It was a show the band considered a triumph, despite the fact that their uncle's 82 Volkswagen Vanagon broke down twice on the way to the show, and ignited in flames on the way home, destroying all their instruments and their pet rock.
To this day, my Uncle Gerald mourns the loss of that pet rock.
As lofty as those heights seemed, Chad had loftier ideas for the band than just The Attic.
As good as that sold-out show was, I had something in mind that would make people take notice of MeatHammer. Why stop at The Attic? when you can go to the roof?
It was Chad who suggested to the band that they host a concert from the roof of Walter's parents' house.
I admit, it wasn't my brightest idea. I forgot the roof was slanted.
But soon their drug addiction and hedonistic lifestyles would break up the band.
Hey, man, we never broke up.
Or had a drug addiction.
Gordon did have a pretty nasty addiction to Orangina and Arizona black ginseng tea for a short time.
I thought we weren't going to talk about that.
What does hedonistic mean?
It means you indulge in sexual pleasures. Isn't the name MeatHammer a phallic double entendre?
A what?
Talking about your penis?
What? That's gross, man.
What are you talking about?
That is so not what the name means.
I'm a Lutheran, you jerk.
Your band biography states that you're all morons.
Well, I can't argue with that.
Watch it all on the next episode of Behind the Music, a show that creatively shit the bed decades ago. And join us next week for a look at the career of Porkbat, the rival band of MeatHammer. Wait. Are you serious? Wait, you are? Oh, fuck this shit. I'm done.
I feel like this is one of those people talk about, UHF channels. We still have them, but it's one of those things I don't think anybody born after 1986 can really understand the heyday of UHF, because a lot of them have all kind of become affiliates like Fox or the CW. But back in the day, I mean, this was like kind of like a Nirvana of all the syndicated shows and old
mecca.
sitcoms. It was like a mecca, yes.
Well, back in the days of old TV licensing, you had the VHF channels.
Very
which
high
were like,
frequency.
very high frequency. And then you had the UHF channels. Which
Ultra high
high frequency. And the reasons why they were divided by that is because, the VHF channels were where the major markets were.
The networks.
The networks, like NBC, ABC, CBS. They had a market, and they were like the Boston market or the New York market, the Miami market, or wherever. And the UHF channels were the ultra-high frequencies where they weren't as big. Like you might have a radius of about maybe 50 miles.
But there was a time they were all
60,
independently.
yeah.
There was a time when they were all independently owned too.
They were.
Yes,
They
correct.
were.
And going around the room, did any of you have a particular UHF station that you sort of gravitated towards? Mine, it was always WLVI Channel 56.
Same here.
Mine was the very same.
I think
Mine was, I feel like an asshole because I can't remember the letters, but Channel 38.
Yes, that was my second one.
WSBK.
Yeah,
SBK. Oh,
WSBK TV 38.
It was
was
whatever.
weird
It was
because-
whatever station would come in because you had rabbit ears
clearest.
with foil on them.
Well, that's
Yeah.
the thing I remember. Is I remember we had our own little television set in our room, and it was one of those small black and white TVs with the
With rabbit
antennas.
ears, yep.
The antennas would be broken on it, so you'd have to put a metal coat hanger into it just so you get good picture.
And you have it cemented down with aluminum foil.
Yep.
You'd have the dial which selected the channel, and there would be a round
sorry.
dial on
Fuck you.
top that you'd spin around. It would do absolutely nothing.
Yep.
The fine tuning.
And for some reason, the channel knob would be missing, so you'd have to have a small pair of vice
pliers.
grips.
Yes.
Pliers, or we had
Yep.
vice grips because that we just said, fuck it, leave them there.
Well, now, in defense of that, that was all us. Because we couldn't understand that when you turn the knob, you do it gently. You do it one
Oh,
time.
yeah. Yep. I
one
was
click
definitely-
at a time. After my third TV where I myself broke the knob, I actually had an epiphany and said, maybe it's me.
You just didn't know your own strength.
Well, you were
No, I didn't
a
realize
lot
how
smarter than
dumb
most
I
people.
was.
A lot smarter than most people, because I mean, even after that, I think people's like, it can't be me.
I always wondered to myself, why the heck, you take a look at cable and how many channels are on that. But with UHF, you had 99 frequencies, and you can only get 3 TV stations.
Right.
Yes, but you also had to realize that as you'd go away from certain frequencies, those channels would then start to kick in.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, the wide range of numbers just allowed for a more wider radius of different shows, probably showing the exact same thing.
Yeah, no, but I mean, as us being kids, we never knew or cared about anything like that.
Exactly.
Yep.
You know, what we cared about was
And we still lived
the
in that,
cartoons.
Yes, and we
Yes.
still lived in that time where they were showing a lot of the cartoons that had long since gone into syndication, or were like packages of older cartoons. And it seemed like each of the UHF stations had their different package deals. Like I know with Channel 56, I remember I can remember those cartoons because a lot of the times they would show like Looney Tunes from the 30s and 40s,
Yep.
Woody Woodpecker, Popeye, the Flintstones, Mighty Mouse, which I absolutely hated Mighty Mouse. I never liked the Mighty Mouse cartoons. Tom and Jerry.
I was wondering who wrote that in there.
No,
That's him. I don't know. I didn't really like Mighty Mouse as well. It was more operatic.
That's the thing about UHF
but it was also
channels.
cheap as hell.
Because
Yeah,
the
that's it.
UHF channels were where like Star Trek went after it got off the networks.
Right.
Because once a show got off the networks, it would automatically go to UHF syndication, and that's where a lot of the shows like started getting a new life.
Or Three's Company.
Yeah, like Three's Company, like all the old detective shows, like Dragnet,
T.J. Hooker.
T.J. Hooker. Oh, some of those shows just end up on syndication as soon as the season was over. Like, hey, we got last season's T.J. Hooker on.
But also Channel 38, I remember, played a lot of like the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
They also played a lot of like it was like my first being introduced to anime because they played stuff like Star Blazers or Battle for the Planet.
Now-
Battle for the Planets.
I remember those shows though on Channel 25.
Oh, really?
Channel 25 is what played Star Blazers.
Well,
Force
yeah,
5.
growing up. Also, he was closer to Boston, technically.
Yes.
So you were able to get different UHF channels than we could.
Oh, okay, that makes
Libby and
sense.
Spencer. Exactly.
Yeah, out in Spencer, we only got Channel 56 and TV 38. This is primarily what we got.
I was in Shrewsbury, so I got basically all three. I actually got 25, 38, and 56.
Well, also
Nice.
Shrewsbury also had their own UHF station in there, Channel 27,
Yeah.
which played a lot of like
Yes,
the old
27.
played a lot of the old more public domain movies
Yeah,
like
they
the
did.
Bowery Boys and stuff like that. Whereas you had TV 38, which I think forever played like the Three Stooges marathon on New Year's
Yes.
Eve.
Yes, New Year's Eve was always about
Yes.
the TV 38.
I think they
Stooges
still do
marathon.
it, but back in
No,
the day
they do.
Yeah, but back in the day there was something kind of special about it, especially since it
like
wasn't
when it first started.
Yeah.
because I remember when it first started. A marathon of Stooges? No way.
I remember they also did like they actually remember getting the Twilight Zone marathon.
Yes,
they did
Twilight
that too.
Zone was done on channel.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the weird thing though: the UHF channels were doing those marathons until the VHF channel started realizing, holy crap! Look at all this money we're wasting by sending it down to them when we can do the same thing ourselves. And then they also started doing marathons, but
Right.
it's like the really amazing marathons were on the UHF channels.
They were,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny, Andrew, bringing up Star Trek. I remember that being on Channel 56 on week. I think it was like on Saturday afternoons. They'd play the old episodes of Star Trek because I remember
The original series.
Yep, the original series. Because I remember in one of the ads they had like the Gorn turning around and facing you, and that scared the hell out of me as a kid.
Well, that's where Star Trek really got its life back from, because
Oh, yeah.
if it wasn't for syndication, that show would never have become as popular as it was.
Oh, absolutely.
There
with the
never would
fan
have been a
base.
movie.
There would never have been a
These
movie.
actors never would have gotten together
No.
to do anything else. I mean,
Right.
some of them may have gone on to do other things, but really their bread and butter was these multitude of Star Trek movies that they made.
Well, the thing about it was syndication, like I said, was a big thing. Back, you got to understand, this was a time in which average episode run for a TV show back in the day was 26 episodes a season.
Sure. Okay.
They would have 26 episodes. You take a look at today, you see like Game of Thrones is like 10,
Yeah.
6 in the later ones.
Yeah.
I'm actually watching a couple of Disney Plus cartoon episodes. One's called The Bad Batch. It's like 10 episodes, 12
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah.
Like Book of Boba Fett's probably going to be about 8 or 9 episodes. All these shows, they don't have the same. They cranked out these shows like crazy. So
Well, that was like when they started doing the whole thing of first run syndication, starting with He-Man and the Masters of the Universe.
Yeah.
Which is funny because it's like the time I remember like first run syndication really hitting wasn't Masters of the Universe. I remember one day coming home from school, and I think at a certain time of the day they would always play Woody Woodpecker. So you know you enjoyed that. Then suddenly it wasn't. They weren't playing Woody Woodpecker that day. It was like they actually debuted a new cartoon, Inspector Gadget, and I was immediately hooked to that cartoon.
Well, that's the reason why a lot of the runs of those shows are like 65 episodes.
Yeah, because they were
It would be Monday through Friday.
exactly.
And you'd have to have enough episodes to keep it fresh.
Yep.
To keep it moving on, and that's one of the
each
things.
each season had like what 26 plus or 33.
Oh,
episodes,
easily,
something
easily.
like
Yeah,
that.
but
Yeah.
if you ever actually break down those episodes, I'd say maybe 10 minutes maybe 15 is actually talking and storyline. The rest is all rehashed scenes from other episodes.
Well, that's Filmation was famous for doing that. They would actually they had a whole thing of stockpiling certain movements where you'd see like He-Man tossing his sword from hand to hand or jumping or running, and they would just use those
and
same
they would just
movement.
change the backgrounds for but it was always the exact same movement.
Well, going back to He-Man though, I think that one of the interesting things about He-Man or any of the other action shows that we grew up as a kid was there was always a toy line associated with it.
That was the first. That was the first of the toy shows.
Yeah,
because I think at the time Filmation tried to sell it to the networks, and they kind of passed because they didn't want to be associated with a toy show, so they got the whole idea of doing it first run syndication. Because I'm sure a lot of these like UHF stations were hungry for new content.
Come for dinner. To help get pearly teeth like these, it pays to dine on milk and cheese.
A piece of meat or bit of fish twice a day be on your dish.
Lots of vegetables and fruit will keep you healthy and so cute.
All these things, it's plain to see, are made from grain for you and me.
Take your food from the 4 food groups.
This message presented by your local dairy council.
Another also interesting cultural thing is the fact that shows on 25, such as Force 5 or Star Blazers or shows like that, actually brought an Asian market to America.
Exactly.
And
I love that show.
Yeah, no, Star Blazers. Star Blazers was the shit, man.
The one I really liked was Battle for the Planets.
Yeah,
that was another
which
one.
was Gotcha Man in Japan.
Well, that's the thing. They also had to actually translate a lot of these shows from a Japanese market into an American.
And that's not as easy as you think, because a lot of the episodes for Battle of the Planet, whatever it's called, got totally butchered. I mean, they had to cut it down because they couldn't have violence. They couldn't have. They might have the original might have had nudity.
That was the problem. Is that they saw the idea, but when it came to the actual content, they're like, "Ooh, I didn't know that was in there." It's like, wait, the Japanese actually like this stuff? We're not going to be able to. Okay, they never once researched the material before they came up with the idea. The idea was solid, but there were plenty of animes that had no content that didn't have to edit.
Right.
In doing so, they didn't have to butcher it.
Exactly.
And one of the great things about Star Blazers is that because it was a show that didn't have any of those problems.
I love that ship's design. That was such a great ship design.
Yeah, it was an amazing the gun itself, the fighters, the concept.
As a kid, I always thought it looked like a submarine.
You know, the interesting thing
I
about
always thought it was
that,
a battleship.
I think it was
a battleship. It was Battleship Yamamoto.
Yeah, Yamamoto.
Yeah. And that's basically, for any of you history geeks out there, Yamamoto was the admiral in the Japanese Imperial Navy. Nerd! Who planned the attack on Pearl Harbor.
Who actually was shot down in an airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Ironic.
Wow.
And now, Nerd Corner.
I mean, if you can imagine
Andrew.
the equivalent, can you imagine an equivalent of that? Like, if instead of the Yamamoto, it's the USS Arizona turned into a spaceship. Because that was the whole idea, is that they took this battleship and they turned it into a spaceship. And they were fighting the Gamelons.
Gamelons, yep.
Remember that?
While trying to be helped by the, what the hell was her name?
Oh,
her people's name. But that's not the point. Hey, I'm going to let you know this planet is causing you grief. I'm going to give you a drive. You're going to hook it up into a ship and you're going to come here and get a cure. Other than that, peace out. I mean, how else do you interpret that? She did nothing.
I know. Well, that's the thing about anime. Anime is, Japanese animation and American animation cartoons are so, there's a cultural
Diverse.
divide.
They're so diverse.
They are very diverse, and they're very, it's more like, it's animation for adults, but at the same time, kids can connect to it because, we, like I said, in our generation, we were pretty much like exposed to cartoons as entertainment for kids. When you go to Japan, you see like 50-year-old guys reading manga, that kind of stuff. It's totally normal
because it's all in the storyline for them. Whereas if you take a cartoon, any cartoon made in America today, take that one episode of that one cartoon and watch it. Mm-hmm. Then take another episode, different season, same series, watch that. Would you see any difference between other than what they're looking like? Would you see any difference of like, oh, hey, this whole storyline is completely unknown to me because it was not not operatic. It was a soap opera-ish. It was
Yeah.
not soap opera-ish told like an anime is.
Well,
you missed an episode of Star Blazers, you were screwed.
Well, that's the same thing. No, I'll even say this about like other shows like Gem. Have you ever, I mean, let's be honest.
I
watched Gem.
I remember Gem.
I remember
I had a younger
watched
sister,
it.
so
Yeah,
I'll admit
exactly.
it. I'll admit it. I watched Gem as a kid, and it was a soap opera.
Yep.
It was like every episode. Like last time on Gem, this band tried to destroy us in a big, huge fire.
I
And,
grew
like,
up with two girls. Wait, did you grow up with a sister?
I had a sister. Yes.
Okay.
Well, my sister
So
was
this now
older.
normalizes why we all watch Gem.
Yeah.
Because you had sister.
It wasn't
you
like
had
we were really,
sister, I had
truly
two.
outrageous or anything. You know.
Well, it's funny. Just going back to UHF, it's like one of the first cartoon characters my parents remember me drawing as a kid was Fred Flintstone.
Yep.
And it was one of these things. I was sitting in front of the TV, and they probably had the Flintstones on, and I was probably like maybe 4 or 5 years old at the time. And I'm just sitting, and I'm drawing, and it actually looked like Fred Flintstone. It wasn't like I traced it or anything. I just drew it while watching the television. So we were still being exposed to a lot of them you can get on Boomerang, but it's like, I don't know. There's just something about, just seeing a lot of these cartoons we were talking about during that era where it's like a lot of them were like.
We were like inundated with it though, because I remember we would come home from school, and
that
from
would
the
be what you
time
would watch.
the time that we were home from school
Yes.
until dinner time was just cartoon, and then after was the syndicated rerun TV shows that we would watch.
Well,
like I said earlier, like
it's
Three's
funny.
Company, or I think Perfect Strangers, wasn't that also?
Think about
Strangers
watching
was
the
there.
Looney Tunes from
Bosom Buddies. If you're
Bosom Buddies on TV 38, right?
Well, remember, a lot of these shows, if they failed on network TV, they would often come right to the UHF channel.
And sometimes get revitalized.
And they
like
would,
there were
yes.
shows of like, okay, it had 2 seasons in syndication. All of a sudden they bring it to UHF. There's like 10 extra seasons now. Why? Because we liked it when you idiots didn't care.
Exactly.
I feel like we were the last generation really, born before 1986 that really kind of appreciated the old Looney Tunes because they were still showing the ones from the 30s and 40s.
Unedited.
Oh, sure.
And
now,
not
because
only
now
that-
they're all edited.
Well, not only that, we
there's
also
the disclaimer.
Or the
Some
Tom and
channels do the
Jerry's, where like
disclaimers.
Tom and Jerry like literally trying to murder each other with like flamethrowers, like shoot each other.
But getting back to the Bugs Bunny cartoons, what was great about them, and it's like we actually were getting kind of an education too, because how else would we have known about like Humphrey Bogart or a lot of these celebrities from the 40s if it wasn't
the
from
music.
watching the music?
Yeah.
Classical
Yes.
music. Nobody would even care to listen to this, to Mozart, to Beethoven, to Wagner, because of the best cartoons ever made from Bugs
Exactly.
Bunny.
Yep, and like I said, we pretty much came home from school and just sat in front of the TV and
Vegetated.
watched all of this stuff on TV 38, 56, 25.
25.
We didn't have 25.
I mean,
That
like I
sucks,
said,
dude.
we
You're
were
missing
like
some decent anime.
we were really exposed to a lot of great shows. Like I remember, like after school, I'd watch Lost in Space.
Yes.
Yes,
You know, that
Lost
was
in Space. I remember that show.
I like shows like Twilight Zone, shows like
Yes,
that
Outer Limits.
Outer.
Oh my god! If it hadn't been for UHF, I never would have known about the Outer Limits.
and that was the beauty about it, because they were all. You see, UHF channels were really the streaming networks of yesterday.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, if you wanted to see something different than what was on the network stuff,
the big three,
big three,
Yeah.
because that was what you had.
Yeah.
You had no choice. But if you went to UHF channels, even the public channels that were also on the UHF channels as well,
Right.
Because you had Channel 11 out of New Hampshire, I believe it was. There was 44. They would have the old-
44, yes, 44 was like
the
public
PBS
access channel.
Well, that was the PBS station closer to us.
Yeah, they would have Doctor Who.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God! Again, if it wasn't for UHF,
we wouldn't
I
know
never
about
would have
Doctor
known
Who.
about
Yep.
Doctor
Yeah,
Who.
if we didn't have PBS.
Well, that's the
very
funniest thing.
first episode was for me was the robot where
Tom Baker.
no John Pertwee
Oh, yes.
morphs into Tom
Yes,
Baker.
okay, yeah.
And which completely not connected
Surprised?
surprised me. It's like, wait a minute, who's that guy? Who's this guy? I don't understand the story. What's going on?
I know.
But now, do you guys also remember one of the biggest features of UHF, which was the Creature double feature?
feature.
How
that was
can
a-
we forget about that?
Oh my God! Being able to watch all of the Godzilla movies up to the time.
Yes.
Well, they played such a great plethora of movies. Not only just a lot of it was the Godzilla movies, but you'd have a lot of like the Universal monster movies, the
Yes.
Hammer
Yep,
films,
yep.
the American International B movies, like
5 million
Killer Shrews.
5 million years to Earth.
The one I-
great Hammer film about alien invasion 5 million years later, but never would have saw it if it wasn't on UHF.
The one
Channel 38.
the one I remember seeing commercials for it was Valley of the Guanji. I remember
What?
Frogs.
This was a Ray Harryhausen film, which was
really? Okay.
cowboys fighting dinosaurs.
Of course.
And I remember it because at the time I think they had like a temporary host. I think Rich Kaz, who went on to be at the time was son of Svengoolie, who went on to be Svengoolie later on, was hosting it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
How can we forget about seeing movies like 1 Million Years BC with Raquel Welch? Ooh. Hey now.
I'd text Raquel Welch, and I have a feeling she'd text me as well.
I'd like to see that and Slave Leia together, 1 million years BC. Long time ago in a galaxy
monster
far, far
movies,
away.
horror movies, you'd have Godzilla versus Gamera, which doesn't really exist, but still I'd love to see it.
Actually, the late at night horror movie marathons that they would do back in those days, oh my God, like uncut after 10 o'clock, uncut. Yep. And they would do the gore horror movies. Like, okay, no nudity, very few swearing. But all the special effects was on display.
Before we move on from Creature Double Feature, we can't not mention the music that was the theme song for it by Emerson, Lake and Palmer,
yes.
Toccata.
Yes.
And here is a creepy sample.
That sounded awesome.
Yeah, that was creepy, wasn't it?
It was amazing.
Wow.
Now, I'll tell you the truth. One of the things, if you're from New England and you're in the convention scene, you will see an occasional person walking around with a good old-fashioned Creature Double Feature T-shirt.
No doubt.
And they have them. People walking around with it. That's just classic.
The WSBK.
Yeah.
WLVI, 56.
Yeah.
Oh, 56.
And the thing about the song for that was, before moving on, was the fact that they kind of took a bit from the whole song because it's a much bigger track. Kind of the way they did with the Exorcist did with Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells, where they took the beginning to it.
Or the Song of the Dead, where they, like you hear in The Shining, where they only take like the first two stanzas and play it and repeat.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That really? Okay,
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yeah, it's
Yep. That's why it's so disconcerting. But that's the thing I remembered about the Creature Double Feature was, just that bit of song, because it sounded like two monsters fighting, and then you have that bit at the end where it just sounds like it actually does. The synthesizer sounds like a monster roaring. So.
Yes, and it was creepy sounding.
It was.
It was a great time. Not only that, they also had to have like they would have like late night movies or the movie of the night, which was the WSBK.
The movie loft.
The movie loft.
The movie loft.
I was just gonna say we can't go any further unless we mention Dana Hershey presents The Movie Loft.
Oh
we
God.
always have to show him in a sweater on top of a spindle staircase as he walks down to describe tonight's movie.
And tonight's movie. Oh God! He fell.
Oh my God! Shit, fuck God! The best part about that was like throughout the movie he'd like they would have little breaks where he'd be like, well, do you know about this movie? Is that this movie
sometimes they would do like he would show some behind the scenes stuff too.
Yeah.
So. That was actually the first time I ever saw Monty Python and the Holy Grail was on Channel 38's Movie Loft, and they actually didn't cut out Carol Cleveland's part where she goes, "Oh shit!"
Exactly. That was the other thing about Dana Hershey. I think he didn't want to have anything edited because
he didn't.
I remember, and I think I still have the tape somewhere of the original Terminator movie where
really?
When the scene where he's in the hotel room.
He's in the hotel room, and the maid or the guy comes up. And he goes, "Hey, you got a dead cat in there or what?" And he scans through the options
Choices.
of one is like go away, and then it's like fuck you, fuck off, asshole, and it goes, and he goes, Fuck you, asshole. I remember I recorded that live, and I remember turning to my dad and being like, they can't say that on TV. I think I was like 6, 8 years old.
And knowing your dad goes, well, they just did.
Yeah, my dad would just be like, well, they fucking did.
That's about it. Yeah.
I actually was introduced to the Pink Panther franchise.
Yes.
Oh.
Yep. God, I love the Pink Panther.
Oh, my
Peter
God.
Sellers.
For
Peter
me-
Sellers.
For me, it was the Silver Streak with
Gene
Gene
Wilder.
Wilder.
Yeah.
Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor. Silver Streak was a great
I
movie. Yeah.
used to quote that movie and Stir Crazy. I used to quote those two movies.
Those were great movies.
Much.
You saw that on the movie Loft?
On the movie Loft.
Nah.
The other time, and like you were saying, Dana liked to do these behind the scenes things. He did like a whole 20-minute segment on Silver Streak. Like they did like an intermission for the movie, and then he just put like this 20-minute thing in there, and it was amazing to watch.
Yeah, he really brought you because you saw that he loved movies.
Yeah, he did.
And he brought you into the movie.
Well, the other thing I remember was also back in the day they would do Channel 56 like movie at noon. And, you know, and on a Saturday, and that was actually another place where it was the first time I ever saw the Beatles' Yellow Submarine.
Yep. Okay.
They played that, you know, on a rainy afternoon.
That'd be fantastic.
Oh, it's appropriate.
Yes, it is. Isn't
I mean,
it, though?
that's the thing that was so magical about those stations is that they really competed with the local like network affiliates.
Oh yeah.
And they came, and not only that, but they also had their own production budgets too. Like they actually had money to put into these production. Now it depended on where you were, you know, because other stations were pretty much just like if you were in the Midwest, you probably didn't have the movie Loft. What happened was that they would probably like syndicate from another place, and they would get movie Loft for other places, and they would just replace.
They would have like their movie packages.
Yeah, they would have a movie package, and that's how they did it. But Boston was always considered like a big TV market.
Oh yeah.
For a very big long time.
In the winter, what else do we have to do? You know, we're stuck in the snow and we can't drive anywhere. Exactly. Yeah. I kind of miss I'll be honest with you. I kind of miss the days of the independently owned UHF stations. We kind of lost something when, you know, it's like the Fox affiliates and all the other ones started purchasing all the UHF stations.
I think when it really started going out of style was when like the WB network started showing up in the 1990s.
The WB followed by CW.
CW.
Right. Well, it kind of
WPIX.
Fox. Everything was Fox.
Yeah,
Fox
was
the
first
Fox.
one.
Yeah.
Yep, I remember that happening in '87. There was like that changeover.
Fox was the Walmart of the cable. Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys
Actually,
didn't
you're
have
right.
Channel 25, but you had Channel 38. So you could almost see how Channel 56 and Channel 25 were starting to kind of merge and make themselves bigger as they were going. And 38 just got squeezed into nothing.
Yeah.
And yet 38 was like till the end was like, no, we are originally the way we are and we're not changing.
Well, right. When they had the networks and they started trying to make these UHF networks, they started having shows like, you know, you had they had late night shows that would come out, like. What the heck is it? Oh,
the Joan Rivers show, or
no? Joan Rivers had a show. I know she had one.
You're thinking like Chelsea Handler?
Not Chelsea Handler. There was another one that was. Oh my God,
Jerry Springer.
Not Jerry. Well, Jerry Springer was like, you know,
Maury Povich.
Not Maury Povich. I'm talking about
these
like
were all horrible people. For
late night. I'm talking like, you know, co-star with Eddie Murphy and Coming to America. What the?
Oh, Arsenio Hall.
Arsenio Hall.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Wow,
that was
that was laborious.
I'm sorry.
Well, that was a long trip.
Was there any 6 degree of separation anywhere there?
God, you could have said like he was the voice on Ghostbusters.
He was the voice on Ghostbusters. Yes, he was actually Egon Spengler. He was not Egon Spengler.
No, oh my God.
What's wrong with me today?
Winston.
You've lost your nerd card. Pass it in right now.
Okay, here you go. But yeah, so
in
like
'87 when it's like Fox kind of took over 25, it was just like. I feel like, you know, even though they started bringing in like a new programming, you had stuff like The Simpsons and stuff like that. I still feel like something's missing now.
Yeah.
I think what we can say is that they gave us enough bread and circuses for us to be entertained watching the new 25 becoming Fox.
Yeah.
But over time, it wasn't enough to sustain us because the shows, one, they became repetitive, and two, they just became terrible. And then of course, later you start to see shows that start to get pushed out. Like, I'm sorry, I'm getting political, but Tucker Carlson or Laura Ingraham. Those shows are now like all that Fox seems to talk about. When do you really hear about like The Simpsons or Family Guy or shows like that? Then when they want to talk about them, they don't.
I remember they used to have panel shows like that.
Married with Children was hysterical.
I remember when like back in the day when you had like shows like The Hot Seat or like the other guy that was like the big mouth on TV.
Oh, Morton Downey Jr.
Morton Downey Jr. There you go.
God.
Yeah,
he was big for he was huge for a few years. He was a big guy. And so.
But the thing I always found funny about Morton Downey Jr. was that he was right. He was absolutely right in the fact that he was like, look, there's people in power who are keeping information from us. And this is not right because we are giving our freedoms away by just being silent. But he presented it in such a shock jock mentality that it was like, dude, we can't take you seriously. Yep. Prime example, he used his own persona, yo mama, he used his own persona in the movie Predator 2 with Danny Glover.
Danny Glover.
Oh, boy.
A horrible movie, yes, but he was Maury Povich in that, not Maury Povich.
Gary Busey was in that, man.
He was
Morton Downey Jr.
Morton Downey Jr. in that movie.
I'm just here to shoot down an alien.
Another famous, quick to go to UHF channels for Saturday afternoon movies.
Oh man, so many times I've seen that.
I saw so many like sword and sorcery movies on.
Oh, that's right. How could we like not bring that up? All the Arnold Schwarzeneggers and the Red Sonja.
Yes.
We would never have seen those movies if
Death
it weren't for that.
I mean, all those crazy.
And here's the funny thing about that is if you look at these movies today, you think to yourself, okay, these movies were held from us as kids because a woman flashed a boob, or we just saw an ass cheek go by a screen.
No! Actually, Channel 56, I remember playing, I think it was like several years later, they played the Salem's Lot series.
The 4-hour version?
Yeah, exactly. I think they played it on like after 8 o'clock at night. And I remember being scared. That scared the shit out of me.
Some stations, I recall, after 10 o'clock would have some type of disclaimer on their programming saying, we haven't edited shit. Yep. So if you're a kid watching this,
you're fucked.
You.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Due to mature content, viewer discretion is advised.
It didn't even have that. It literally was just like, there's going to be blood, swears, and boobs.
Get your kids out of the fucking room.
Oh, I remember.
You're a terrible parent.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if your kids aren't in bed by now, you're a horrible parent.
Yeah. Channel 38, they did have a disclaimer. Dana Hershey did the voice for the disclaimer. I remember hearing his voice in my head saying that.
Do you remember what it said?
If your kids are still in the room, you're
is
a
it
terrible
the voice
movie.
that you hear when you go to sleep at night? That's before you go to sleep at night when the nightmares begin.
So when Wayne's getting ready to go to bed, Dana Hershey's like, well, first I'm going to brush my teeth. Now, fluff my pillow.
Next week on Wayne's Inner Thoughts.
Take off pants one leg at a time.
Actually, that was the other thing that was kind of interesting about UHF back when, back in the early days is remembering a lot of the PSAs they would play during cartoons.
God.
Yes.
And they're all like from the American Lung Association.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, like the R2-D2 and C-3PO.
No, R2, you found a cigarette.
R2, is that a jibber you're smoking?
Pass the doobage, man.
That.
Pass that funky shit over, motherfucker. Let's get spunky with the skunky. There's also the ones for like the Boston Museum of Science. I remember that one.
Yes.
I want to see how an ocean wave waves.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. I can walk like a penguin.
What was it? The New England Aquarium?
Yes.
Aquarium.
Where families get together.
Where families get together. No, we don't.
Only on school trips.
Yeah.
That should have been the slogan. The New England Aquarium, where families get together, but only on school trips.
I found the perfect place to take the whole family. The New England Aquarium.
Oh, Daddy, you have great surprises. Oh, yeah, come on, around here, there's sharks. Look at you. Nino, look at that. How does that feel, Karen? Hey, look how close they are. What a giant turtle. I can look like a penguin. Look like mirrors. Hey, Mom, the dolphin show.
The New England Aquarium, where families get together.
I went to the Boston Museum of Science. It was never as cool as the commercial.
Oh, I know. God.
I think the coolest thing about that place was like they had like a space capsule that I was
and it wasn't as cool as
it wasn't as cool because it was just a cardboard cutout inside.
It was the shell.
You couldn't even touch anything. It was all like behind a glass paywall.
What's the difference between a meteor and a comet?
Well, it'll be fun to find out, won't it?
It's fun to find out what makes an ocean wave wave. My name is Karen. My name is Karen. It's fun to find out what your voice really sounds like. It's fun to find out what it's really like in space. This is the captain speaking. Come in, Earth.
Boston's Museum of Science, where it's fun to find out.
Why does he have such funny little front legs?
And of course, all of us we have to remember this one. My name is Robala. I come from Mars and I eat all kinds of candy bars.
What is this? Some Earth fruit?
Oh,
Wait till I tell the other Martians about this.
Oh
By
my
the
God.
end of this decade, we will put a Martian on Marilyn Monroe.
Isn't that the one where they open up part of like a volcano head and
No, it's
got a swivel top on it?
It's a cardboard
terrible
spaceship.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it is. But it's got a swivel top, so just.
I wonder what that guy is probably doing right now. He's probably drinking in a bar, going, "I was a Martian from Mars.
I was Robala. Yeah, you told
I
us.
was
You told
Robot,
us.
bitch."
After his fifth whiskey, I was Robala.
Greetings, Earthlings! I'm Robalad. I'm from Mars, and I eat all kinds of candy bars. What is this? Some Earth fruit? It is good. It's better than good. It's yummy and not bad. Oh, wait till I tell the other Martians about this. By only eating candy bars, we don't know what we've missed. A good food message from...
There was also another series of commercials by the Better Business Bureau. I don't know if you remember those ones where they had like these puppets.
Yes, I remember the kite.
Boy, this kite is a really big piece of shit. Well, of course, it looks like you had prison sex with it. What did you do to it?
Boy, kite. What's the matter? Won't fly.
No wonder it won't fly. It's a wreck. How did it get that way?
Well, it got caught in the tree, and I yanked it down, and then a truck ran over it.
Gee, that's tough.
Besides, I forgot and left it in the rain all night.
Wow.
I'm going to the store and get my money back.
You can't, dum-dum. When you have something nice, you've got to take care of it.
You think so?
I know so.
Gee, I guess you're right.
A Genie consumer tip from your Better Business Bureau.
Jesus Christ.
I'm going back to the store and get my money back. You can't dum-dum.
You can't dum-dum. You can't fuck face.
Abominable, you're such a jerk. Ah, fuck you. The other one I remember
those are great PSAs.
The other one I remember is like the giraffe and the squirrel, where they're apparently they're friends and they're going out and he's leaving his electricity on. He's like, you can't go with that and leave your electricity on. You got to turn the stereo off and all that. All right, fine, I'll turn the shit off. And
Ready to leave, Albert? Okay, let's go. Hey, wait a minute. You left your lights and your record player on. So what? We're coming back pretty soon. But that's a terrible waste. Electricity costs money. I guess you're right. I'll shut them off. Ready? Albert, now you left your window open and you're wasting heat. Oh.
A Genie consumer tip from your Better Business Bureau.
The ones I really like were the goofy ones from like the Church of the Jesus Latter Day Saints or whatever.
the Mormon commercials.
The Mormon commercials we'd always get, like this kid.
Till now I just forgotten about
I
those.
totally forgot about those as well until now.
The kid that wants to go. There's like one where the kid wants to go to a violent movie or whatever. Like, I'm just gonna tell my parents that I'm off with the library with my friend, and then like you walk in and there's a big huge like fucking dance number with people with flashlights inside of his house.
Like, if you tell one lie, it'll lead to another. And it's like, yes.
And then the kid runs out. His parents are like, I don't want to lie anymore.
Oh my!
There's a dance team in there telling me not to lie, and it's scaring the fuck out of me.
I'm scared of them.
How can I go to that movie? I know. I'll say I've got to go to Jim's to finish her science project. That's a good lie.
When you tell one lie, it leads to another. When you tell two lies to cover each other, then you tell three lies.
Oh, brother, you're in trouble up to your ears.
So you tell four lies to try to protect you.
Then you tell 5 lies so folks won't suspect you. Then you tell 6 lies, and then you collect a life full of worries and fears. Soon you lie and lie without even trying. And each lie you tell will keep multiplying. And you'll be suspected, rejected, disliked, and you should When you lie, you're closing the door on everything good.
I'm not going to Jim's really. I just thought I'd go to a movie. I'll never lie again, honest.
That's good. Are you all right?
There's no such thing as a good lie. From the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons.
It was pretty creepy, though.
Do you also remember?
But that's the point. It's designed by fear.
If you
do you
lie,
also-
a dance team's going to come into your house.
Do you also remember Bugs Bunny telling you to remember, leave your pot handles in?
Yes.
Oh my God.
From your Shriners Hospitals.
You know, kids, the kitchen ain't a playground. There's a lot of danger hiding in here. That dangling cord can be a disaster. Especially if they grab hold and yank me. My cord should be up. Hey, you said it. Keep dangling cords out of reach. Delicious cookies can be a tempting treat. I should be over there. Keep goodies away from heat so kids don't get more than a treat. There's a lot of things in here that can burn you. Ooh, me. By itself, it's harmless, but filled with scalding hot water. I just wait for a child to grab my handle, then. Uh-oh, a really bad burn. So to stay out of hot water, keep those pot handles turned in.
Remember, you can horribly disfigure yourself if you get scalding hot water on your face. So turn your pot handles in.
I don't remember that.
Oh my.
Oh yeah, there was like these the series of ads which had like Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, and Tweety, and they're doing like Daffy's talking with kids about making sure you have smoke detectors in the house.
A message from your Shriners Hospitals.
I'll spring the old bedroom quiz on them. Daffy, what are you doing here?
Well, it's quiz time. First question. How do you burn-proof a bedroom?
One was that gadget up there.
Aha, a smoke detector. Every home should have at least one.
But just having one isn't enough. Kids should know the sound a smoke detector makes.
And what does that sound mean, kids?
It means get out of the house. And fast.
How?
Escape route. Right, the whole family should map out a few different ways to get out of the house if there's a fire.
A meeting place is most important, so everyone knows everyone else is okay. True or false? Under the bed is the best place to go during a fire.
That's false. You should never hide under the bed.
What about the closet?
That's a definite no-no too, Daffy.
Make sure your family gets an A on my burn prevention quiz, okay?
So kids, make sure that you're smoked. I don't remember how it goes.
If you have smoke detectors in the house, you won't burn to death.
I totally forgot about the smoke detector one. Yeah, yeah. There was a couple. They did a couple of Warner Brothers or Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny.
Yeah,
it was definitely
Warner
Mel
Brothers
Blanc,
PSA.
right?
Yeah.
Was it Mel Blanc doing the voices
Oh, it was
at the
still
time?
Mel. It was still Mel. He was still around at the time, so it would
Okay.
have been early to mid 1980s.
One that we found later that has like Superman talking about asthmatic kids.
Yes.
Like, hey kids, you don't have to sit on the sidelines. Like, hey, it's a bird.
Oh, I remember that.
And like, here, get this activity kit. That
Superman, why the fuck are you animated and the rest of us are live action?
I know. What a jip. Jesus Christ.
I do any of you remember at the end of G.I. Joe, they always had
Oh yeah.
that
Oh my
and the
God.
Justice League. They always would have
Well,
like this.
There was
dumb
always
ass-
there was a certain era where every single cartoon had
Masters
to
of the Universe
dedicate
had to,
the
too.
last 5 minutes to some type of moral. Mask.
Masters of the Universe.
Mask.
Yeah, Mask did that.
Mask.
Well, Masters of the Universe was the most famous, besides G.I. Joe, was the most famous one. It's like, well, we sure learned a lesson today. If Orko hadn't been such a douchebag, we wouldn't have gotten in trouble. That's right, He-Man. I was a total tool.
So what's the lesson we learned today, children?
Punch
Don't get
Orko
caught.
in the face.
Punch Orko.
Snitches get stitches.
That's right, kids. See you next time.
And they would have that was the thing. They would like it was just like
I learned a valuable lesson today. Don't drill a hole in the wall, because Evil Lynn will catch you. Until next time, kids. Wagga, 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 wagga.
it was all to appease like the parent group.
Yeah,
who were like,
that's exactly
These
it.
shows
It was-
are nothing but commercials
True,
for
true.
children
There was
to
at
buy
that time there was a
toys.
lot of parental groups that were trying to put on music. Yeah, restrictions. On music and pretty much everything that we enjoyed.
The one that always got me was the G.I. Joe PSA where the two kids are like driving up with their bikes and it's like, hey, look, there's an electrical wire across the road. Let's launch our bikes over it. No kid would think like that at that age. I'm sorry. We weren't that stupid.
Honestly,
I did.
Yeah, that's something I would have probably.
And you know what? You would have lived.
Well, the thing is, I can't even say I would have lived because I'm clumsy as fuck. So I might have done some horrendously stupid and hit the wire, but. Yeah, dumb as shit back in the day. I would have totally probably done that if I could.
And I'm sure you guys have all seen like the parodies they did of the G.I. Joe commercials with pork chop sandwiches.
No.
You haven't?
No.
Somebody like a couple decades ago took the original G.I. Joe PSAs and they like voiced over them. So they had the one where the kid's cooking at home and starts a fire. And one of the G.I. Joes comes running and goes, pork chop sandwiches, pork chop sandwiches. Oh, shit, get the fuck out, kids. We're all going to die. Oh, fuck.
We'll pull it up later.
Yeah.
Please.
I mean, they did a great job with it.
I do remember one. I can never remember. I'd love to find it. But there's one where the sailor dude, it comes in.
Shipwreck.
He comes in and this kid's trying to do something stupid. And he comes in and says, shut up, kid. Let me explain what's going on. And so he explains the whole thing. And then the kid said, oh, thanks, Shipwreck. We really appreciate it. There's this pause and Shipwreck goes, fuck you.
I think that might have been one I voiced over.
Because I remember
that probably was, it was probably one that Bret, because Bret's been doing this Mental Suppository thing secretly for well over 8 years now, I think, because there's a whole bunch
hair on a rock.
If you can search YouTube, there's a ton of like old Mental Suppository videos that Bret made back in the day with him doing Barney and Fred. There's almost like a series of
Well, that's how it kind of started out.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if that's where I found that one with Shipwreck.
Probably is, yeah.
Well, that's how I started the whole thing out, was sort of doing it as like these cheap dubs, but then we kind of developed it as the podcast we're listening to right now.
Evolved.
So the other thing that I don't know if you guys remember it, but I remember, is they used to have not only the PSAs, but they had their own money and production money to have hosts for these TV.
The Kid Club.
They would have the WLVI Kids Club. Did you remember that?
Yes. Okay, now I remember.
The one I remember in the mid-'80s was Dale Dorman, who was a DJ, was for a while. He was like the host of the Kids Club, but he only did like voiceovers. So he was the one who would, sort of mention a lot of the
cartoons. Just be like the announcing, yeah.
And now back to Popeye, or say, hey kids, here's a joke for you, or something like that, or like some sort of.
Hey kids, here's the monkeys. Now Popeye.
Yes.
But we can't.
Now back to Tom and Jerry.
We can't gloss over the fact that they also seem to have they were almost like video DJs, because they would come in between the
just to
the
give
next,
a quick blurb.
Yeah, be like, so pay attention next because here comes Daffy Duck or something.
Yeah.
Here comes the Snorks.
Now
here comes He-Man doing some shit.
And if you were from this area,
yes,
then you would remember
the New England.
Do you remember Paul
Wagner?
Paul Wagner.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
He was. It's like late 80s at WLVI. They brought in these two hosts, Paul Wagner and Elizabeth Dan. And Paul Wagner was he tried to do impersonations during the cartoons.
He tried to be cool.
Yeah. He's one of those guys at that age. You're watching and you're like, yeah, you're not funny.
No, stop.
Exactly.
Stop.
But Jamie doesn't remember him as much as he remembers the
Elizabeth Dan.
Oh, hi. Hey, I'm glad you're here.
Oh, yeah. Tell us all about Elizabeth.
Oh, there wasn't much, man.
Come on.
You just watched her. That's all.
And
that's it, really.
Take a bathroom break after she's appeared on.
In other words, no personality, no depth, just complete sex appeal, a complete.
No, I mean, just
kind of like April O'Neil on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
No, she was just like a cute blonde that would come up on screen, to be like against Paul's
Let's do
nerdiness.
Yeah,
exactly. She had to be like the yin to his yang.
The straight person.
The straight person who was like, oh wow, I could see myself going out to dinner with her.
The Abbott to the Costello.
Can
the
you
Laurel
see yourself
to the
going out to dinner with Paul? He would annoy the fuck out of me.
Wicked good artist.
I'm going to do an impersonation of Popeye. No, you're not.
No, you're not. Here, watch me. He just tries too hard.
Well, blow me down. Oh, you blow all right. You blow big time, Paul.
Oh my gosh!
But
apparently he's now like a motivational speaker.
Oh, okay.
Where I'm kind of wondering if he still does a lot of these impersonations and.
You know, he may have perfected it over time.
He also,
It's been
I don't
time,
know if
yeah,
you guys
maybe.
remember this, but he for a while he was doing like a series of Papa Gino's commercials where he'd come in talking like this guy with a Brooklyn accent. He'd say, "Hey, I heard Papa Gino's has got these pizzas. Oopie doo," and that was his catchphrase.
Oopie doo.
I think I remember that.
And I'd be over.
Do you remember Oopie doo?
And I'd be over there like,
Sounds like a
"Oopie, fuck
t-shirt.
you."
Oopie, fuck you.
Oopie, fuck you, motherfucker!
God.
Wow, this anger just suddenly came out all of a sudden. in
Oh
the
my
past.
god!
All right, okay. But
Thanks, Paul.
what was your what was your favorite out of all the stations? I guess what was your favorite station, Wayne?
Oh, 38.
Yeah?
No,
Whichever one
38.
would come in clear enough for me to watch.
Nah.
56.
No, you got a valid point there. I mean, there were plenty of times where I'd want to watch a movie on 38 and I just could not get a picture.
Right.
Yeah.
Not to save my life anyway.
Somebody would
during
have
a
to
storm
blow
or
dry their
something.
hair.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the moment Mom turned on the blow dryer, all of a sudden fuzz on the screen.
You're like, come on!
It was like watching scrambled porn.
Yes. Oh.
But I remember with 56 is they were the ones they started showing G.I. Joe, Transformers, Inspector Gadget.
Transformers. Yeah.
And then later on, they were the ones that I think they were the first ones to show Tiny Toon Adventures and.
56 at that point started doing a lot of that.
Well,
Yeah.
that's when they started becoming part of the network thing because they.
Yes and no, they still weren't part of the WB.
Pretty
but
soon.
No,
It was
no,
early
they were
on.
getting close to
That
it.
was
Yeah.
really where the merger
Yeah,
started. Was
it's
when
true.
Animaniacs, because then all the money got involved.
And then they ended up moving to Fox 25 because when Fox started doing their own, when they became affiliate, they started doing their own kids series. Then they sort of stole Tiny Toons from 56, which
No, they
in
didn't
truth
steal.
No, but that was the
anything.
idea
They
they
just
gave.
offered them
Yeah.
more money, and they were like, "Sure."
I just said steal in quotes, but they probably like you said got the rights to
No one in the
broadcast Tiny Toon Adventures, and also they were the ones they started doing Batman the Animated Series, Animaniacs.
25.
man.
Yes,
Yep.
I remember when Batman the Animated Series was amazing.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
bringing I'm not going to say that, but the fact that you brought Mark Hamill to do the Joker, he was iconic.
That blew my mind the first time I
Yeah.
found out that it was like Luke Skywalker's the Joker, and he just did he didn't do it in impersonation of Jack Nicholson. He did it as sort of
his own thing. Yeah.
And I think that's the thing they told him when he was doing the voice was like, we just don't want you to do an impersonation of Jack Nicholson. He's like, fine, he was happy with that because that would have been a hard act to follow.
Well, I mean, the thing about Mark Hamill is that was a period in his career where he had done Star Wars and he kind of got typecast in a sense, and he really didn't do a lot of live action movies. I think the only other
accident didn't help.
Yeah, the accident didn't help either. But the thing about it is that
He was in Sleepwalker.
He was in
Sleepwalkers.
Yeah, I mean, he would be in these movies and everything else like that.
He made
occasionally.
like
It was a cameo. It was good.
Remember like Tales from the Crypt?
Yeah.
Yes. Shows like he was in a couple of
he
those
would be in that
episodes.
stuff.
Sure.
Or he would be in like the Flash as the trickster.
Yes.
That was
the trickster.
Yeah, that
Kind
was
of doing his Joker voice.
It was
Exactly.
almost the same thing.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that trickster is what really kind of brought him to do the Joker
Actually,
voice.
But here's the thing. If it wasn't for the Joker, his name would not be a household name.
That's
after
what
the fact.
I agree.
Like Leslie Nielsen, that Airplane movie revitalized his career.
Right.
I won't say it necessarily revitalized it, but it definitely boosted it.
It certainly did. It's like what Pulp Fiction did with
Surfer music.
With Surfer.
No,
music.
with John Travolta.
With John Travolta.
Oh, that's true.
Yes.
That too. Yeah.
I knew where you were going.
But then John Travolta is also doing the Bruce Willis act, so it's like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, he's in one of the Geezer teaser movies and all that stuff.
But I think for me, Channel 56, but UHF in general was sort of my introduction to, like I said, old cartoons. Hanna-Barbera, they played, it's like watching stuff like Yogi Bear, Top Cat.
And there was always that.
Didn't like the Jetsons as much, but, Scooby-Doo.
And there was always that difference between like early morning cartoons compared to afternoon cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
So you weren't getting
Yes.
doubled over. You weren't like, oh, I saw this in the morning. It's like, no, totally different shows.
Exactly.
Yep.
Real Ghostbusters was one of those shows that was a Saturday morning cartoon, but then it also switched over to UHF.
That's
channels.
right.
So 56.
So it had crossover appeal. So because they shot like a ton of episodes, like I said.
Oh, yeah.
And they could either go Saturday morning or during the afternoon.
I feel like that was the cartoon that kept the Ghostbusters alive because at that
Yeah, it
point
did.
they only had the one cartoon, and that was the one that kind of pressured like the group to make Ghostbusters 2, which they really at the time didn't want to.
Yeah.
And again,
And it shows.
It was
Yeah.
one of those. It was one of those toy movies, toy shows.
Yep.
That had its own lineup of
Oh,
toys.
it was churning out different ghost designs.
Yep.
Or different scare effects that you could squeeze the Ghostbusters on their legs, and then their head would come up and their eyes would bung out.
Yeah.
Especially with like the goo or the
slime.
jelly.
Oh, the slime. It would be
Ecto
purple.
Cooler, man.
Ghostbusters cereal. I had Ghostbusters cereal as a kid.
Ecto
It wasn't that good.
fucking cooler.
Yeah.
All right, I'm only going to come on record by saying that I did buy a box of that new, like the new Ghostbuster cereal that they had out in Walmart that everybody had been trying to get.
Mm-hmm.
And
my kids wouldn't even eat it.
It's that bad?
Damn.
I think the cardboard box has more taste appeal.
That's not surprising because I think I'd gotten a box of Count Chocula a few years ago, and it's
when
just
you're
like, it wasn't the same.
When you eat that breakfast cereal and then you go to brush your teeth afterwards, and it looks like you're like, you're like bleeding from your mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, not good for before
bleeding gum
school.
cereal.
That's why this show is sponsored by...
On the farm we grow a food that's everything you need to eat. It's a fruit, a veg, a bread, a milk, a cheese, a bean, a meat. Hi, I'm Farmer Brown, singing about the foods you need to keep you healthy. Today, Molly's favorite. Milk. And the foods made from milk, like cheese. Marvelous. And ice cream, too. Magnificent. Milk and milk foods for strong teeth and bones. For variety and vitamins and fill and rooty too. Eat a veg, a bread, a milk, a cheese, a bean, a meat, a fruit. Eat a variety every day. My man.
Well, gentlemen, I think it's time for another episode of The Camaro Man.
Seriously? None of you are sick of this by now?
No?
Not me.
I'm not.
And I'm the only one who hates this crap?
Oh, we didn't say we liked it.
We're just not sick of it because you hate it so much.
That's the difference.
Fuck, you got a point.
On the highway of justice, there's a right lane, and there's a wrong lane. And I better not catch you in the wrong lane because Justice wears a big four-wheel drive bow tie. And you better not be caught hitchhiking on the road of justice unless you're hitchhiking for justice. But you shouldn't be hitchhiking. Even if it's for the right reason, it's still wrong. Because hitchhiking is illegal. And I don't break for crime, but I do break for a family of ducks, or a possum, or a platypus, depending on what country the highway of justice happens to be located. But if you're in trouble and you have no one to turn to, you can call Camaro Man.
This week on
The Camaro Man.
Will you stop breathing down the back of my neck?
That ain't me breathing down the back of your neck. That's the warm, sweet breath of justice.
I'm pretty sure justice doesn't smell like Slim Jims and orange Fanta. Chief Iguana, might I have a word with you?
MeatHammer, I'm pretty sure hospital visiting hours are over.
Nope, not for another 3 hours.
Doctor, don't you think bed rest might be best for me right now?
I'm sure the visit will be fine.
You really suck as a doctor.
I sure do. You know my brother, Senator Hammerhand.
I believe we met at charity event for the Boys and Girls Club.
You were motorboating my wife by the punch bowl.
I have no memory of that event, but that does sound like me.
We didn't come here to talk about taking advantage of your wife.
You took advantage of my wife?
We came to talk about more important matters.
We came here to talk about a certain lone wolf on your force.
A certain loose cannon.
Did somebody mention cannon?
Wrong cannon, William Conrad.
Fine. There are too many big fat guys in the room. I'm getting claustrophobic. He's been harassing a very good friend of ours.
William Conrad?
No, you Chappaqua dick. That lone wolf is harassing a very good friend of ours.
Oh, let me guess. That good friend of yours happens to be Blanco.
You bet your right testicle it is.
Too late for that.
You tell this man of yours to stop harassing Blanco, or there will be trouble.
Trouble as high as my cholesterol.
None of my men are harassing Blanco.
You know damn well who we're talking about.
Oh, God, don't say it.
You mean the Camaro Man?
And I think the other one ruptured.
You tell that Camaro man he's out of line.
Way out of line.
Or he'll find himself in trouble.
Car driving off a bridge trouble.
First off, he doesn't drive a real Camaro. Second off, I wish he'd drive that Hot Wheels looking piece of shit knockoff over a real bridge.
I think visiting hours are over, gentlemen.
Nope.
Damn it, I thought you left already.
I went to the vending machine to get myself a Zagging Up bar, but William Conrad beat me to it and bought all of them.
I got a pocket full of quarters, bitch.
Then I heard you shouting, and I came to see if you were all right.
I'm not now.
Now you listen to me, Camaro Man.
Can't you just let me eat my lousy hospital meal and watch Suddenly Susan in peace?
This is an election year.
And you must know, we're running for re-election.
I don't have time to read the newspaper because I don't understand words.
Then you've probably seen it on the television.
And I don't watch TV because I know for a fact Dan Rather is trying to steal my soul.
That explains so much.
Let us spell it out for you.
Don't bother. I can't spell. It's a waste of my time.
Blanco's a good friend of ours, so get off the case.
You can't get me off this case, just like you can't get me off a topless dancer. And just like one of the dancers down at the Fuzzy Grape, I'm going to keep shoving dollar bills down Blanco's thong, even after the restraining order.
How do you know about the thong?
You refuse following a direct order?
I do indeed, Quincy Magoo.
That's a cartoon character.
Then you're hereby suspended. Hand in your badge.
And your thong.
Wrong person.
Sorry.
You can't take away my badge, because I don't have a badge. I lost it at the coin-op laundromat when I was washing my jean jacket, jean shirt, and dungarees.
You call everything except your actual jean pants jeans? You really are a special kind of stupid.
I'm stupid for justice.
No, I think you're actually just stupid.
As for you corrupt politicians, you might be able to suspend me, but you can't suspend justice. And you can't suspend me. That's why I'm...
Where's a hypodermic syringe full of pentobarbital when I need it?
The Camaro Man.
You're just as bad as those idiots calling Fox Body a Mustang.
And Iguana, I hereby fire you.
You do? Sweet!
You mean you want to be fired?
You're damn right I do.
And I hereby reinstate you.
Motherfucker! I thought I was finally through with this Camaro Man bullshit. Why can't I have just kept my damn mouth shut?
Tune in next time for another episode of
The Camaro Man.
Shut up. Right after an episode of Touched by an Asshole.
Which is nothing like The Camaro Man.
Are you sure of that?
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Bam!
I love that one.
That was gold. That was gold.
That was very good. So I suppose we can't finish a episode about UHF without talking about the movie UHF?
The movie.
Supplies! Supplies!
Oh, you're so stupid.
Wheel of fish!
But it was like, it was such a product of the time because it was like people who remembered, UHF stations, even though the movie itself at the time wasn't a hit.
Okay.
It was one of those films that, it didn't really get legs till
it was only
on
because
VHS.
it was only because it was released at a certain time when a summer blockbuster came by 2 weeks later and threw it away.
Oh, Siskel.
I don't know.
Siskel and
Batman.
Well, Siskel and Ebert considered Weird Al to be the Antichrist after that film.
Well, let's a little background a little bit about that. Weird Al Yankovic, famous for doing song parodies like "Eat It" and "Like a Surgeon."
Yes.
And he had a huge long career working with Dr. Demento. And of course, Hollywood said, "Hey, this might make money."
Right.
So he had an amazing opportunity to make a film. And so they basically made this movie. It has a whole ton of great guest stars in that movie too. And the movie revolves around a UHF TV station.
Exactly.
And they not only have an interesting story, but they parody so many things that were on UHF channels at the time.
Exactly. And it's funny because there was a line in it where he's looking at the program schedule when he gets the station from his uncle. He's looking at it, it's like, oh, look at all the old reruns this station has. We could really use some more live shows. And it's like, and at the time, I mean, there was a time where there was a lot of back in like the 70s and maybe the early 80s, there was a lot of like these locally produced shows that they would do, and they kind of parodied that idea with some of the shows they did, like Stanley Spadowski's Funhouse. But even making fun of the whole idea of the really bad children's show host with Weird Al doing it, and the kids are just not laughing.
Hey, Bobo, look up, look down, say hi to Mr. Frying Pan. Bong.
The one I always loved was like, "Hi, what's your name?" Billy. Billy what? And he just spits on him.
Not just the spits on him. This big, huge honky loogie just like, it's like dripping down his nose.
And also there's the scene that you can't really say it's the best scene because his character's supposed to be heartbroken, but he shows up and he's been dumped by his girlfriend. He's like, "Hey kids, where are we gonna go today?" That's right. To Uncle Nutsy's clubhouse. And boy, oh boy, are we gonna have some real fun today. We'll have so much fun, we'll forget how miserable we are and how much life sucks and how we're all going to grow old and die someday. Yeah, this kid in the background, "I want to go home." "Shut up, you little weasel."
And then he like walks off during the break, and like he's like the janitor Stanley Spadowski's like right
Michael
there.
Richards.
Before
Before he ruined his career.
You think I can do this? Hey, Stanley, you want to
knock yourself out.
Yeah, okay.
And then he becomes a hit.
And
it's like
the
everybody in the
biggest
bar.
sensation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody in the bar is like,
Even
"Hey,
adults.
he's back on."
Yeah, even the adults who are wasted are like, turn it back on.
And he gives that speech that what's the actor's name from Network?
Yeah, when he's is that when he's
Peter
talking
Finn.
about when he's talking
Peter's
about
lying
the
on the floor, you gotta clean up.
the mop? Yeah, when he's like, sometimes you just gotta get down there with a toothbrush.
And they say, "These floors are as dirty as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore." That was such a great. It was just.
Yeah.
It was not appreciated at the time, but it's like years later, with home video and like the people who got that sort of sense of humor.
And UHF stations too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And what better way to say I love you than with a spatula?
You had who is it? Like, you had a whole bunch of actors in there. You had like an early Fran Drescher.
Yes.
Victoria Jackson.
Victoria Jackson.
Playing the secretary turned news correspondent.
Oh yeah.
Pamela Finkelstein.
Oh my God.
And it's like,
"Hello, I'm Pamela Finkelstein here with..."
You had Billy Barty in it.
Billy
as the
Barty.
camera.
That's
Billy
what I was trying
Barty.
to think of as Macintosh.
Yep.
I remember originally they wanted to get Joel Hodgson as the scientist guy that Philo.
That would have been great.
Oh my God.
That would have been awesome.
That would have been fantastic.
Milo, right?
Philo, I think.
Philo.
Yeah.
Philo. Now we're going to learn how to make a nuclear reactor from common household materials.
Trinidad Silver is the guy who's doing like the show, like teaching poodles to fly. Turtles are natural suction cups.
Yes, turtles are natural. Lick them in the bottom.
We're going to teach poodles how to fly.
He got like where'd you find this guy? I thought you found him.
You found him.
And he had like the pile of poodles outside.
and you had it was Kevin McCarthy?
Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah. Kevin
Yes,
McCarthy.
He's the one who's trying to shut everything down.
Yeah, he's the network affiliate owner, and he is like,
We're being beaten out by a UHF station, And what would R.J. Fletcher Sr. say if he was here right now? "Let me out of this painting, please. I can't." That was the guy who played his son was the guy who played Jambi on Pee-wee's Playhouse.
I know.
Really?
Oh yeah.
And he was fantastic.
Dad!
Just the smarmy
Yes.
son.
Dad.
And take that ridiculous thing off.
It tears off the mustache.
Takes off the mustache.
Oh my God. It's such a classic movie where they make, like, you can just like, that movie was like my brain when I was a kid.
Me too.
Well, I think that's probably where the problem was.
Yeah.
Not your brain, but the fact that the comedy actually,
No,
take,
like,
for
yeah,
instance,
you got to say, like, the best, the really funny segments of that movie were not, like, the ones that they produced, but the ones that he had in his head. When he was Rambo and he's going around.
Oh my
yes.
God.
Or Indiana Jones.
Or the Indiana Jones segment, yeah.
or that whole commercial he did with the new Gandhi where he's like standing
Gandhi
up with
too.
machine guns
Gandhi
in both hands.
too.
Give me a steak, medium rare.
Hey, Baldy!
But that compared to, say, Airplane. The jokes in Airplane are a little bit more subtle, a little bit more quieter, a little bit more low key. Those are funny. The jokes in UHF probably a little bit ahead of time, but they were very loud. They were very, very in your face, very
Right.
substantive. And because of that, some people just didn't get it. Like later, of course, they started watching them. Well, oh my God, where's this movie been all my life? This movie's hysterical.
Conan the Librarian.
Don't you know the Dewey Decimal System? Yeah, he just splits
these are a little
him
late.
in half. He just cuts the kid in half.
Oh, that was some good stuff.
But I think the scene where he supposedly saves Stanley as Rambo, and he's just like blowing up money.
Just blowing up everything.
He's got the rear view mirror on the gun.
Yes.
Adjust it.
There's also the joke where he pulls out the machine gun and like fires it at all the people on the hill, and they stop for a minute, and then they all fall.
Oh my God, that movie was such a classic, and it was really it really was swallowed up because it came out in '89.
Yes,
and of course that was when movie summers were actually pretty damn good.
You had Batman, you had
Ghostbusters 2, Lethal Weapon 2, Indiana Jones.
Oh, that's right, I forgot about that.
Ton
Wait,
of big
which
movies.
Indiana Jones was
The
that?
Last Crusade.
The Last Crusade.
Okay.
You had The
All right.
Abyss. You had all these huge major movies by these major... Because, I mean, back then, movie studios, they threw everything they could at the movie theaters.
But that was different because they also knew the return was there.
Exactly.
The return's not there anymore. And so they're starting to go now with a lot more of these low-key movies.
Now you have Bruce Willis and, Cosmic Sin.
Well, no, another thing, the big thing that's happening right now is that movies that have already been produced, because you got to think that once COVID happened, a lot of movies that had already been filmed were just like, that's going to get shelved. Let's go ahead and pop it on a shelf. So now there's shelves of movies that people are pulling off and being like, okay, well, if we cut this up into 3, we now have a 3-episode thing.
True.
So now they're taking like the Pam and Tommy thing. That
wasn't that supposed to be in like HBO?
That was like Hulu or something like that.
Netflix.
But I kind of felt like that was like produced and done as a movie, and then they just cut it into 3 episodes.
I got to ask this question before we move on.
To make their money.
I got to ask this question: have any of you ever had a Twinkie wiener sandwich?
A Twinkie wiener. Smile.
You ruined my life.
How could he not?
Hey,
just burst.
Free toy inside, free toy inside.
How could he not burst into laughter after having Weird Al just stick his fingers in your mouth and pull your cheeks up that high and go, smile?
Yeah, they also had Victoria Jackson.
And then just...
Victoria Jackson played his girlfriend.
His girlfriend, yeah.
During her, Saturday Night Live fame, which was probably the only time she was famous in her life.
And, the funny thing about it is, she's like, hey, I'm in a cult movie and I'm not in a bra. But that was the thing about that movie is like they had so many great little acts and they had little moments in that movie.
Supplies!
I mean, my favorite was
I love that one.
I mean, that character alone, hey, what time is it? There's like a martial arts dojo next door and a guy punches through the wall.
And
There's his watch.
I'm late!
7:30.
7:30. Oh, man, I'm late for work.
It was just such a great, goofy movie.
But, yeah, that was the thing. I mean, they had so many little, wheel of fish. You get what's in the box, or you get this nice snapper. You get nothing. Absolutely nothing. You're so stupid.
Ooh, red snapper. Very tasty.
There was actually another part of the movie where if you watched UHF stations, it immediately brought you back when they were doing coming up on U62, and they had all
the little advertisements.
Yes,
that would come up.
and it was like the graphics on it and all that and all the stuff they had. It's like it reminded you. It's like, oh, I've seen this on Channel 56 when they were announcing older sitcoms or the movie at 8. It's like
Channel 58. You'll kind of like it.
Yeah, exactly. Be there or not.
Be there.
Yes.
The best part was where he took Town Talk. And it turned into the Gerardo show.
Yeah, he turned it into a Jerry Springer Geraldo sort of thing. Because he ends up getting
hitting people with chairs and stuff.
Town Talk, where you'll see some of the things that'll just go absolutely bananas.
Where he's talking to Satan, and he's like, "Oh, shut up, you pinhead! You make me sick!" and throws water in his face.
He blew the lid off of Capone's glove box.
Yes.
What is this? Road maps.
Oh, dear God.
I mean, honestly, that was a movie kind of at the end of the heyday of UHF stations. And that was just the cherry on top of it, honestly, it feels a lot because I worked in public access TV stations for a while. And that movie just feels so much like that. I mean, there's so much about that movie.
I feel like anybody born after like 89, 86, 89 kind of missed out on
They
those.
really
sort of,
did.
They don't know it. Yep.
Yeah. They, it's like yeah, sure, you still sort of have UHF stations as we mentioned before. I mean, but they're all affiliates now, and it's not that same feeling of independence.
Nope.
You're not watching a Creature double feature. You're not watching The Movie Loft. How many more times can we say The Movie Loft? A lot.
The Movie Loft.
WSPK 38's
The Movie Loft.
With
Dana Hershey.
I mean, the afternoon movie at 2. Mentioned the Creature double feature. You were, being exposed to all these different sort of movies, just
the WLVI Kids Club.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Being exposed
Teenage
to
Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yep. That was right at the end when it was still independent, but they were starting to show these new cartoons. And it's like
you can see the difference in production value.
You definitely could.
And that was a local art team that hit it big.
And the sad thing is that in the beginning, it was welcomed. They loved it. They wanted more of it. But after a couple of years, they're like, "Oh, what the hell did we just sold our soul, didn't we?"
I think
nothing
one of
left."
the big things was cable. Cable was a big influencer in the market because before cable, you did have the UHF stations, but like after cable, when cable started coming in, and all of a sudden you had like all these different channels that you could suddenly get, in addition to the UHF market. That was when it kind of started becoming a little more branchy and everything else like that. Like viewing habits had started to change.
Well, because then it became more niche.
Right.
Like if you had a certain type of show you wanted to watch, it would be on this station all the time.
Or, or every network
Cartoon Network.
Yeah, or the History Channel had History stuff on. Or,
exactly.
Or like
so once people had those options, the affiliates kind of...
hold on. Whoa. You guys are now like way ahead of it. You got to go further back when cable first came out, like Channel Z.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody remember Channel Z?
I don't.
That was basically a black box version of a connection to a server that just played a certain number of movies on repeat.
Really?
That's all and it was uncut. You had to pay for it.
Yeah.
And it was the beginnings of cable.
So sort of like an HBO. Before HBO.
Right. HBO by itself. And yes, and they would actually have that. They would have the adult movies that was super, super edited.
Coming up next, porn.
Yeah,
after 10 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. 10 o'clock.
Here
11
on
o'clock,
the
up
Spank
until,
Bank.
2 or 3, and then they would have the infomercials, and then that would be it, and then they would come back on.
Because we all know back in the 80s, no child was ever awake past 10 p.m.
Of course.
Please. At about 5 or 6 years old, I was watching Monty Python's Flying Circus at 11 o'clock on PBS.
Watching Benny Hill.
That never...
Benny Hill!
Benny Hill, that was another thing.
That's
that was
another one,
UHF.
Yep. Like a lot of British shows, like a lot of
Faulty Towers.
I remember
Space
Faulty Towers
1999.
I remember my folks were having a card game one time, and I'm in the other room watching TV, and I'm watching Benny Hill. It's on PBS, right?
Yep.
And my uncle comes in, and he's, "Hey Jim, how you doing?" I'm just sitting there, I'm just watching Benny Hill. Typical girls running around in bikinis, with the little bald guy getting pat on the head, right?
That explains a lot, Jamie.
My uncle walks back and he's like, "Hey Bill, do you know your son is in there watching Benny Hill?" And my dad just goes, "Oh yeah, he likes that."
Best
I must have been
ever.
like 6 or 8 years old, something like that.
See, you had a head start on puberty, didn't you?
A little bit.
That's our show for today.
That's all for now.
On behalf of Jamie, Andrew, and Wayne, thank you for listening to The Mental Suppository. Until next time, this is Bret Herholtz saying...
I knew I'd disturb you.
The Mental Suppository has been produced by Bret Herholtz and Jamie Billings and distributed by M. The Media Project. Theme music generously donated by Mr. B, the Gentleman Rhymer. Visit his webpage at gentlemanrhymer.com. We would love to hear from our fans. Email us at mentalsuppository@gmail.com.
Hope we do you.